Welcome to Share a Pint, where we tap into the craft beer scene. I'm Jerry Hulla, your host.
Today I'm talking with Zac Rissmiller from 1623 Brewing Company. Thanks for being on the show, Zac.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
When I first visited 1623, it was about 3 weeks after you guys had opened and literally just days before Governor Hogan implemented the stay-at-home orders. So talk a little bit about that period of time.
Starting February 22nd, that's the day we opened. Open to an awesome reception, and thanks to everybody that came out for that. And it was incredible to see. 3 weeks after that, and about the time that you came in, we were doing really well, and we got word that it might be coming down. And at the time we didn't really understand like exactly how serious it was. We just noticed that we've only been open for 3 weeks and we're being shut down. Since then, obviously it's a lot more information has come out, and now we just take it extremely seriously. We have to, everybody has to, but that first 3 weeks was incredible. The weeks that have passed since they're full of insecurities, all sorts of finger pointing, and but I would tell you that us as a team have come together like really strongly, like way stronger than I could have ever imagined. So it's good. And we got branded masks too.
Nice. There you go. Nice.
So yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, how you pivoted your business model to stay afloat once everything came down.
So for us, it wasn't really much of a pivot. We were really trying to do a little bit more taproom stuff, but we had originally started as a contract brand. So we already had a lot of the distribution models out there for us. Or the distribution like avenues, I guess. And so they stepped up in a big way, took as many cans as they could get from us, got them out to liquor stores. And it was fun to like really dive into that side of the business again. Cause we had kind of let it go because of all the taproom stuff that we had been really gearing up for. So to dive back into that was fun. And, we've made some really good friends with our distribution partners and our retail partners, and we can't be more thankful for them. But yeah, wasn't much of a pivot other than just not doing taproom stuff. But we were able to put most of our taproom staff to work in the back for our distribution channels. And we kept on most everybody during the shutdown, which was a real proud moment for us.
Absolutely. Some people haven't been as fortunate, so it's great that was able to work for you guys. Well, you live in Colorado, and I imagine you have been there since the whole COVID-19 kind of went down. Yeah. So talk about how that works with you being the head brewer there at 1623.
So I have an awesome lead brewer, Matt Evans, who has been doing the brewing really since the beginning, since the tap room opened. Me traveling back and forth as the head brewer, I basically run operations. So that's ordering ingredients, sourcing different things, writing recipes, that sort of thing. And Matt has a real awesome eye for that as well. So we were able to work together to really get that stuff done locally in Maryland, as opposed to me flying back and forth and posing a risk to everybody involved.
Right.
So, yeah.
Talk a little bit about what the various stages that Colorado breweries have gone through during COVID-19, and then kind of maybe update people where things currently stand in Colorado.
So I think it was maybe a couple of days before Maryland, Colorado shut down, but it was maybe a couple of days. It may have been even a couple of days after. I'm not really sure what the timing was, but it was very similar timing. They were able to open about a week before we were in Maryland. They are in what Governor Polis is calling restaurant style. they didn't make them apply for new food licenses or anything like that, but breweries that serve food immediately were able to get in and get open. Breweries that did not serve food had to get with food trucks and other things to serve food, so that it was a restaurant style, basically a sit down restaurant. The 50% occupancy inside, 50% as well outside, I believe. They are shutting off streets. They're shutting off all sorts of stuff to get more seating available to them, so that they can make their rent payments and pay their employees and all sorts of things. And I think that one thing that is maybe, I think it's the same, but maybe a little different. I hear from Colorado breweries is that they didn't realize, with being on the street, with tables on the street and everything, that the distance was going to be such a problem, trying to get to and from a bar, getting things poured, getting things taken care of. It's you've got to have more labor to be able to do that, just because it just generally takes longer, and you don't want your customers to be waiting for 15 to 20 minutes to get a drink,
Mm-hmm.
But that space actually creates several issues. I know we found it at our place, and we're not even as far as some of the Colorado breweries here. Some of the servers are having to walk. Farm breweries here are spread out. I know one in particular that is spread out over like a quarter mile. So servers have to hoof it a good while. There is no bar service here. They cannot be. It's not allowed. Masks were just mandated, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. But it's, everything is pretty similar. Governor Hogan and Governor Polis have, their policies have aligned pretty well. So I'm able to look at what's going on here in Colorado and then what's going on there, just to be able to kind of get my feet in policy wise with what's going to happen in both. So.
Okay. Well, let's circle back to pre-COVID and go ahead and share with our audience the story behind the brewery and specifically the name 1623.
So to go back all the way to the beginning, I owned a brewery here in Colorado called Resolute Brewing. Mm-hmm. My cousin called me and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing one in Maryland?" I told him no. The laws at the time in Maryland, this was 3 years ago, the laws at the time in Maryland were prohibitive of really turning a profit as far as breweries were concerned. Mm-hmm. So I said, he lives in Westminster, so it was, hey, why not Pennsylvania? Why not something like that? Their laws are a little bit more friendly. They're not friendly, but they're a little bit more friendly. Mm-hmm. I say this as compared to Colorado, which is we've got so many that are our brewers.
You're established out there. Colorado is the established craft beer community, so yeah.
Yeah. So so I said, yeah, let's do it in Pennsylvania. I had opened Resolute with a bunch of high school friends, which if you've ever opened a business with friends, some good, some bad for sure, but we were definitely having issues. So I did take a buyout from them and came back to Mike and said, hey, why not? Let's give it a go. It looks like the laws are going to change, and they did. And we were able to start contract brewing really almost immediately after that. We started with Dew Claw, ended up with Peabody Heights just before we opened. We did some small batch contracting with Old Mother as well. And we were able to get our place up and going in February this year. And man, that was a lot of fun, getting everything set up for our own stuff to finally be able to be producing our own beer. I've been a brewer in Colorado for 10 years, and it was killing me to have people produce the beer. There's with contract brewing, there's always, and with any business relationship, there's always a give and take. You deal with what they have, as opposed to what you want. Sometimes that's what you want is not feasible for what they can do. So there's a lot of compromises. With us in our facility, everything's the way we want it to be done. So we're able to do that and not compromise on anything, which I'm so grateful for and so happy to finally have that. So again.
Absolutely. Well, you've touched on it a couple of times, but go ahead and expand a little bit more. 'Cause, you've been contract brewing in Maryland since September of 2018. So talk about the role that played leading up to the opening of the tap room, like you said, this past February.
The idea for us was brand recognition. That's really what we were going for. We wanted to put out a quality beer and start building the brand before we did have our own stuff, so that when we did have our own stuff, we were able to open up a little bit bigger than what we wanted to originally, but be able to maintain that and have a steady growth pattern that is sustainable. Steady growth patterns that are sustainable are always great in any business, right? So we also realized that the growth pattern within breweries is a bit different. So if you're thinking like growth as far as sales is concerned, I think that's probably not the right term as far as that's concerned. Growth as far as efficiencies, growth as far as getting costs down and that sort of thing is really what the growth is in brewing. And if you're able to consistently grow year after year after year, whether that is sales or whether that is efficiencies, or cost savings, then you do that. But one thing that we've always said that we wanted to do is be big enough to be able to support jobs in our community and then never use that as a cost saving tool. So jobs are not part of cost savings in our opinion at all.
Okay. You talked about contract brewing in a few different places and what they didn't have versus what you wanted. So did some of those experiences come into play when you ended up with the facility you have now? Because my understanding is it was initially you guys looked at it and went, ooh, this might be a little bigger than we want. And then once you went with it, you're like, no, this is exactly what we needed.
Yeah. So a little bigger than what we want. So when we first started out, we wanted to start doing the contract brewing, get some brand awareness, and then open a 7-barrel facility, maybe with a guy with an acoustic guitar in the corner playing, maybe 100 seats, maybe. But we quickly realized that was going to be too small for what we had kind of built. And so we had to go with something bigger. It certainly was a risk, for sure. A risk that now we're really glad we did because of the whole COVID thing. You would think it'd be the opposite way, but it actually gave us a revenue stream being that big. So went from 7-barrel facility to a 30-barrel facility, and we're really able to basically keep ourselves afloat on the fact that we went bigger. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah, no, when Carrie showed me around the back of the house, and we just saw that you guys utilize the space back there really well. I mean, you have your own canning line, which obviously is a great thing. I mean, distributing ahead of time, I'm sure played into that role, but like you said, fortuitous with the COVID situation to have your own canning and being able to handle that and make that, a larger part of the business when you expected to be pouring drafts out of the tap room a few weeks after opening. So
yeah, exactly. We were really hoping that we could maintain the momentum from the tap room being opened through really like our first year, and then you can kind of see where it went from there. But we were really hoping for that, and 3 weeks is not a year, so
yeah.
Now it's hard to get people into the tap room, and I mean, people have every right to be scared of coming out. It just sucks, hurts.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And some people adapt to what they can do to open a little bit better based on the space that they have and the things around. I looked around, and like I said, I had been there literally the Saturday before everything went down, and that place was packed. And then, going last week and, shooting some footage and seeing what was going on now, I could tell the difference of how you guys had really spaced things out to create a safe environment, how the staff was working, Carrie talked about some of the things outside that you were able to do, expand a little bit, talk to the landlord, get a little more spacing down that alleyway for some outdoor seating. I could really see where you guys had pivoted that, and that space you talked about really allowed you to do this, to open back up in a safe way.
Yeah, we can't be more grateful to St. John's for working with us and really every aspect of from us opening to where we are now. Them allowing us to use that alleyway in a semi-permanent basis. We put up big old concrete barriers to make sure that nobody drove through that alleyway.
Right.
And those, they have worked with us every step of the way, and we can't be more grateful to them for that. But yeah, we are spread out pretty well. The outside tables are 8 feet apart. I think the inside tables are as well. Just gives us more of a leeway so that a server never enters into someone else's 6 foot space. So we're really trying to make sure that everything is thought of, taken care of, and more importantly, cleaned and kept cleaned.
Right. Right. Well, and then Carrie showed us that front area just when you walk into the back of the house, and how she talked about they were just getting ready to start with some live music, and the fact that that little open area behind the glass works really well, because at the time the music would come in, no one's going to be brewing, so that part's empty. But then they're behind the glass, you just put the speakers outside the doors into the tap room area, and everybody's safe. And I thought that was a clever way to, again, start to bring some normalcy back, but make sure you're looking out for everyone.
Yeah, having a glass divider between live music and the actual crowd listening to it is an interesting feel, to say the least. But I think that obviously we have to keep people safe, and asking bands to play outside in 100-degree heat with 100% humidity is just brutal.
It's a little much.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd ever be able to pay them enough for that. So.
Yeah. Well, you've segued nicely into some of this you've kind of already discussed, but my understanding is you've had a lot of support locally within the Eldersburg community, even prior to the tap room opening. So tell us a little bit about those experiences and how they really impacted what 1623 is now.
So the community in Eldersburg has been amazing. During shutdown, we had so many people getting to-goes, so many people getting our beers, tailgating. We had the Carroll County Sheriff's Office doing their part to keep everybody safe. Like, honestly, like the community around Carroll County has been absolutely incredible from every walk of life. We like to say that absolutely everyone is welcome, and absolutely everyone is, and everybody showed up, and it was such a community feeling of goodness. Especially those first 3 weeks that we were open. Oh my gosh, the community really was like, this is a new business, and it's cool, and it's here. And I can't tell you how many times I got thanked for opening in Eldersburg, and I kept thinking to myself, like, I don't know why you're thanking me. Thanks for giving me money and drinking my beer. That's amazing. That in itself is amazing. Like us opening something in a town. I guess we really didn't think of that, but maybe it was something that Eldersburg wanted and needed at the time, and glad we were there to provide it.
Glad you didn't go to Pennsylvania, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. Well, tell people where they can find you guys online: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
So 1623brewing.com. It's got all of our menu up there. You can order online there for pickup or curbside. You can come visit us. We're at 5975 Exchange Drive in Eldersburg, Unit H, I think. And then the Facebook, find us at 1623 on Facebook, Instagram, or you can email me, Zac at 1623brewing.com, ZAC. And yeah, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about beer.
Great. Well, we'll put that up in our show notes and make it available on our website at sharepintpodcast.com. We've learned about the brewery. Let's get to know you a little bit better, Zac. We touched on it earlier that you're the head brewer there, but talk a little bit more about your role.
Sure. I live 1,623 miles away. I'm a Colorado native. I've been, like I said, been a brewer in Colorado for almost 10 years, have a GABF medal and a World Beer Cup medal. Or plaque, I guess, really is what it is. I run operations for 1623 as the head brewer, making recipes, ordering ingredients, making sure that my lead brewer, Matt, has everything he needs. And that's pretty much my role at the brewery.
Well, talk about what you wanted to bring. I mean, you're established there in Colorado. You've been brewing at a couple of different places and there for a while. And obviously, like we've said, that's a huge craft beer scene. Like if you had to say the birthplace of craft beer, I think a lot of people would think Colorado. So what did you want to bring to Maryland from there?
Well, I wanted to bring the culture of brewing from Colorado. I wanted to come and show that, and to my surprise, when I got to Maryland, it was, pretty dang close as far as the brewing community was concerned. Everybody helping everybody out. To a point of sharing recipes, sharing ingredients, like whatever we can do to help each other out, because we're really only fighting one or two other companies in our industry. AB InBev, Miller Coors, and probably Constellation if we had to really get down to it. But the rest of the craft beer community is really supportive and really stays together. So one of the things I wanted to do was maybe introduce that to the public in Maryland. And to my surprise, it was pretty close. But I think that one of the things that we need to do is just have more community-related events at breweries. We stay away from political stuff in its entirety, but in Colorado, there's community meetings for community gardens, and one of my best groups that came into one of my old breweries, Elk Mountain, was a church Bible study. It was amazing. They came in, they sat and they studied their Bible while drinking beer and had a good fellowship that way. And then I've also been to community meetups to like plant succulents, or we met at a brewery and then did a march, or we met at a brewery and did everything. So really in Colorado, the brewery, especially your local brewery, is that of an old English publican. It is where you go. It is almost an everyday thing. People go to breweries to meet up, to do just about everything. Whether you're going to go to a concert, which brewery is the closest? Whether you're going to, do something outside, ride a bike, go for a run, like breweries are always involved. And I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of that in Maryland, but it's pretty darn close.
Well, that's good. And those are great ideas. And, we just recently talked with Jim at the Brewers Association of Maryland, and they're talking about the things they've been trying to do. So some nice ideas to kind of pass along to Big Jim and say, hey, let's all work in this direction.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'd imagine the current situation with COVID-19 has probably been your biggest challenge to date. Share with us what's keeping you committed during these tough times, particularly with you doing it from a distance so that you can be with your family.
What's keeping me committed? To put it bluntly, this is my retirement plan. It is my house. I don't own a house, so this brewery is my house. It is succeed or die.
Yeah.
So this is all my eggs in a basket. So what keeps me committed, what keeps me motivated is making sure my daughter has a future. But I will say that I wouldn't be committed and I wouldn't be motivated if I didn't absolutely love every single bit of what brewing is. I always like to put it to akin to making a picture, but that picture can use all of your senses. So obviously we know about taste. You can smell, you can see the the clarity of it. You can hear a can open and how a beer pours. I mean, beer requires every sense that you have, and that feeling of flavor and excitement and everything that goes into drinking a beer when you take that first sip. It's just, I think it's one of the craziest art forms I could have ever gone into, because it doesn't just require a tactile sense on your tongue, the taste, a hearing the can open, your eyes. Like with a painting, like you see it. You know, it might have some tactile touch aspect to it, but then you could enjoy that medium without your ears. You know, music, especially if you're listening to music not at a live show, you're really, you could enjoy that medium with only your sense of hearing. And I love both of those mediums more than the average person probably. But beer is something that I'm able to do that is absolutely fully immersing. For me, with the background that I have in engineering, to just I've been playing a musical instrument since I was 6. So it's both sides of my brain engaged at the exact same time, using every bit of my senses. It's just the thing that I'm most passionate about, period. So even if all my eggs weren't in one basket, it'd still be in this basket.
Well, I mean, you think you touched on it. You sound like that's really what's been able to contribute to your success, both in getting open and now, is that, you know, the passion that you have for it, and then obviously wanting to be able to provide for your daughter and your family and your future. And anything else that you might not have touched on that you really say, hey, I think this has kind of set me apart and allowed us to be successful?
You know, I don't really see myself as like setting myself apart from anyone. I try to provide a good quality product that people can drink on the regular, never get sick of, and that I like. I think first and foremost, if I can't please everybody, at least I get to please myself.
Right.
Make my art, and I've been fortunate enough that people buy my art, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's something to being committed to traditional styles, and you do a really nice job with some of the traditional styles as your core beers. And a while back when we talked with Tom Bars at Milk House, that was one of the things he was saying. He goes, I make what I like to drink, and I know that there are other popular trends. He goes, but you're not going to find, milkshake IPAs and all this other weird, crazy stuff. He goes, because I don't like to drink them. He goes, so this is what I make. And I'm like, there's a place for that as far as the traditional styles, if you do a good job.
Yeah, I think that the traditional styles are what I love for sure. But I mean, we're getting ready to release a hazy into market. This will be our 3rd hazy into market. We are constantly trying to innovate and constantly try to do new stuff. For me, to be a well-rounded brewer, you have to be able to do it all. From kettle sours that taste like a margarita to kettle sours that are overtly fruited and have a Swedish sour kind of taste to them, to hazy IPAs and absolutely everything in between. You really need to be able to do it all in my book anyway. So yes, our core beers are traditional styles, but everything else that we release is definitely not.
Right.
I mean, we make a seltzer, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, we won't go down that route. But no, I mean, being able to introduce people who maybe aren't as familiar with Pilsners or lagers, I mean, because those are obviously clean, classic styles. But out here, how many of those do people drink versus like the latest thing?
I think everything with beer is a pendulum. Okay. So when I first got into brewing 10 years ago, the idea was we're going to knock you over with as much bitterness as we possibly can. 120 IBU throat burners, right? that, it was almost like drinking a beer's a dare, right? Now we're getting into overly hopped hazies, overly dry hopped hazies that are still green coming out into market. And it feels a little bit of the same thing. But in the middle there were these really great semi-sessionable hazy IPAs that had a lot of fruit flavor, and they weren't bitter forward, and they weren't throat burning, and they weren't all of these things. So what I've seen is it be bitter to sweet to bitter to sweet, and it's kind of what the pendulum always does. And I will say that somewhere in the middle there is a Pilsner. And I've noticed it with anecdotally anyway, with a lot of people that as things get more bitter, they start to seek out something that they know will have hop characteristics to it, like a German Pilsner would, but they know it's not gonna burn their throat. It's not gonna make it an unpleasurable experience. Beer should not hurt. Beer should never hurt.
Yeah.
Whether that's overtly sour or overtly hoppy, beer should never hurt.
Right.
So Pilsner for me is also what I like to call liquid resume.
Okay.
Because if you can pull off a really good Pilsner, there's literally nothing to hide behind in that beer. If you make a mistake, it will show. There's nothing to hide. You can't. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of the team that won gold at World Beer Cup for German Pilsner. So our Pilsner at 1623, that is our liquid resume. I invite people to drink it off the top just because it shows what we can do as brewers, and that other beers that may be overtly sweet or maybe overtly hoppy, that we do have a resume behind us as far as brewing is concerned, and we like to experiment, but we'll always show what we are flat out as brewers.
Well, and again, another classic style. If I'm correct, you're kind of a big Hefeweizen guy, right? And you have some awards for Hefeweizens as well under your belt.
Yeah, I got quite a bit of awards for my belt. Colorado State Fair, which is a very tough competition. I've got three golds for Hefeweizen there. I've got a GABF medal for Hefeweizen, several other smaller festival medals for Hefeweizen as well. And that's a crazy beer to me because it shouldn't work. There's nothing about the way that we make Hefeweizen that should work, but it does, and it's soft, it's pillowy, it's got a little bit of banana flavor without being over the top. It's got a little bit of clove flavor without being over the top, and it's as traditional to Reinheitsgebot as I can get. Yes, I know it has wheat in it, and during Reinheitsgebot, this would be a royal beer. Only the royal family was allowed to make it and drink it, so it was a very noble beer, I guess. And I guess I don't know why I like making it and drinking it so much, but it's probably one of my favorite styles for sure.
For our listeners out there that like the classic styles done very well and have problems finding them, 1623, that's your destination.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Well, once again, remind people where they can find you guys online.
Yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, 1623brewing.com. Anytime you need to get in touch with me, Zac at 1623brewing.com. Go for it.
Awesome. Well, we'll put that on our website and on our show notes. Well, Zac, I want to thank you for your time. I hope that you and everyone at 1623 stays healthy and busy. And then I look forward to a time in the near future when you and I can share a pint again in person.
Yeah, I can't wait, Jerry. Thank you for having me on. To everybody that tuned in today, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the pub. Cheers.
Cheers.
Share a Pint is released bi-weekly on Friday mornings and can be found at shareapintpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at share_pint. Show notes for this episode are available at shareapintpodcast.com. Music for the show, Groundwork, provided by Kevin MacLeod and can be found online at incompetech.com. Share a Pint is made possible by help from the Community Media Center of Carroll County. Associated with the craft beer industry and have an interesting story you'd like to share on a future episode? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at shareapintpodcast.com or email us at jerry@shareapintpodcast.com. Until the next time we share a pint, I'm Jerry Holla. Prost.